Something huge is brewing for the Toronto Maple Leafs as a brand new report has dropped revealing the future of John Tavares in Toronto, and that the conversations between the two sides, the front office and John Tavares, are getting interesting. We're going to break down exactly what the report is and discuss what this means going forward for the Leafs as they're preparing for a very interesting finish to this year and into the offseason as well. Stay tuned for all that in this episode. Before we get into it, if you're part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. This is the place to be for daily Leafs content. And if you're enjoying the daily content, make sure to hit that button. And a quick note as well, we will be live today at 2 p.m. Eastern, live streaming throughout the entire game against the Winnipeg Jets. It's going to be a live watch along. Make sure to tune in. There's going to be call-ins, a ton of different things going on. So if you're free, make sure to tune in there. And happy holidays, everyone. We're now 2 days away from Christmas if you celebrate. But there's a lot to go over today. And reports are starting to fly surrounding John Tavares, his future in Toronto, what contract extension talks are looking like. And it's starting to get very interesting, especially because of how good of a season he is having. So Frank Saravelli on the JD Bunker Show says there have been common ground found at this point between Tavares and Leafs on a contract extension. They're relatively within the same ballpark, and this certainly has the path and possibility to get done during the season. So this is huge news for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we'll dive into some other things here. I just want to start with this. It seems like they're going to get a contract extension done before the end of this season, which is actually very encouraging. We're going to dive into his stats and things like that, but Darius, he's coming off of a very good first couple of months to start the year, and quite frankly, he's been one of the Leafs' best players, and at his age, he wants to stay in Toronto. He has family here. He doesn't want to test free agency. Give him a fair offer, and I think they're going to end up doing so. But man, as he drove his contract up from what we initially thought once he finished last season with 65 points.
He's definitely drove his contract up a bit in price this season with the season he's having, but a lot of players have seasons like this in their contract year. And all of that aside, I think a lot of Leaf fans were expecting John Tavares to re-sign for maybe $1 million, $2 million, something like that. But the way he's producing this year and what we know he can still do, I think last year was an outlier, right? Like only 65 points last season. I think he can still produce at a very high level, like we're seeing this year, because he's playing with really good players and he's one of the best players in puck battles. Obviously, face-offs. I've said all these things before that I think Leaf fans know. He has great value. So we're going to look at some comparables in this video as well, what he could sign for, some other players around the league, make in the same ballpark-ish, but we'll get into that later in the video. But again, I think that both parties want to make this work. I think the Leafs want to keep John Tavares. I think John Tavares wants to retire as a Maple Leaf. I don't think he has any interest in going anywhere else, but I think it would be in the best interest of both parties to get a contract done after the season, to really let it play out. Because if the Leafs sign John Tavares for something that he's worth right now, and then he starts to kind of sputter near the end of the season, we'll see how the playoffs go as well. I think that, the same thing goes for Mitch Marner. I think it's in the best interest, especially for the Leafs, to sign this contract after the season's done.
Yeah, and ultimately, we're seeing it across the NHL. We're seeing a lot of contract extensions go down. We're seeing some free agents across all sports wanting to test free agency. So it's good that he wants to stay in Toronto and that he doesn't want to test free agency, because ultimately he'd probably get more than the Leafs were willing to offer if Tavares did want to test free agency and was open and willing to go to any team, like we're probably going to see happen with Mitch Marner after this season. But you can see this here, and this is from Pierre LeBrun, so a separate update. A contract extension, anything regarding John Tavares is not imminent, but both sides want to see how the salary cap is heading, with two possibilities discussed at the governor's meeting. A $92.5 million cap, and timing is crucial. So a couple of comparisons I want to go over here, and let us know down below what you think is a likely comparison. Claude Giroux, 3 years at $6.5 million, signed that a couple years ago. Anze Kopitar, 2 years at $7 million per year. Now, it's not unfortunate. I mean, it's good. It's great that he's been playing this well, but it's unfortunate to the amount of money that it's going to kind of drive up the price for Tavares. Before heading into this season, we were talking $3 to $4 million, probably around 4. Some were saying 4 to 5. I don't know if a $4 million per year contract is even in the works or even in the starting point of discussions. And it says here, this is similar to what Tavares and the Leafs are discussing. However, Tavares' camp hasn't mentioned Steven Stamkos' 4-year deal at $8 million, as Tavares aims to be lower than that. And it's not aging great for the Predators either. But if this gets done with Toronto, both sides want it to be fair. And Tavares wants to stay Maple Leaf. So July 1st is the deadline. Lots of time for that. But Darius, when you're looking at these comparisons, I was thinking originally more in the $6 million range. I think 3 years, $6 million could be, somewhere in the middle. If he wants to go 2 years, maybe you give him a bit higher AAV. We know they're signing a lot of contracts now that are prioritizing short-term success, whether that's OEL, Chris Tanev, even Stolarz has only signed past this season, one more year into next year. So a bit more uncertainty after next season and beyond. So what are your thoughts on these comparisons here?
Because of the level he's still playing at his age, and again, he's not that old. He's only 34, right? But older in terms of a hockey player. I think that it's going to come in around $6 to $7 million, and I think that he's actually doing the Leafs a favor in doing that because he's having a great season. Like he's going to be a point a game player this season. Not only that, I mean, he brings a lot of other intangibles to the table, right? So this year, 32 points in 33 games. So again, he's going to be a point a game player. He's logging a lot of ice time. He plays on the power play. He leads the league in puck battles. So these things, right, that he brings to the table, another team would pay for them. So I think it's going to come in the $6 to $7 million range, whatever it may end up being, could be 6.5. But I think that's where it's going to fall. And I think that, hopefully it's $6 million for the Leafs so they can do more with that salary cap. But this is a point a game player who's still playing center at a very high level in this league. And there's a lot of rumors about them wanting to go out and get a second line center. This guy is still here and he's still playing at a very elite level. So I think it's going to be somewhere in that range for sure, and they won't have to go out and get somebody for the time being at least, but they're going to have to start thinking about that. And in terms of term, probably, because there's a lot of comparables there as well. Probably 3 to 4 years. I don't think John Tavares has any interest in, wanting to make more money and then ending up on Robida Island, right? I think he wants to retire a Leaf with some pride, with some dignity, where he's just going to go out as a player, actively playing. He doesn't end up on the LTIR, right? So at least that's what I think at this point in time. I think that's what he envisions for himself. But I think he wants to retire in Toronto, and I think that's a good thing for the Leafs. I think this is something that they have to get done. They should get done because he's still playing at a very high level. And I think he can still help them win a Stanley Cup in this 2 to 3 year window that they built for themselves here.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, no matter what they do with Tavares, they're going to do good by him, and I think they're going to get a contract done. And you mentioned it here, Roberts and Tux messages it here. I don't think they're going to go for a second line center. I just don't think that's something that's going to happen this trade deadline. I think it's more so, and that's because of how good John Tavares has been playing. We mentioned it prior to the season again about how hopefully he can be a solid second or third line center into second line if he plays well, which he has been. And you see the effort he's playing with. It's almost like he got young skates under him again, throwing back to his early days in Toronto, late days with the Islanders. And I think the Maple Leafs know that he badly wants to say. That's what Elliot Friedman says as well, which is super important for this team as you start to go forward into getting in depth, with these contract talks. And you see this here. Neither side is rushing. Both want to get a deal done. And while Tavares will be a UFA in July, it's unclear if an agreement will happen during the season. Most expect a year deal, which is, AAV, between 6 to 7.5. Talks remain open and flexible. I wouldn't give him 7.5 to 8. I just not something I'm super comfortable with. That being said, the stats speak for themselves. He's coming off of a 65-point season last year, which I think he doesn't get a ton of credit for. Like, he still had a very solid year last year, 65 points, and now he's on track to be about an 81 point player this season, which is very encouraging. And he just turned 34. He's still not, we talk about how he's older. He just turned 34. He still got some good days left in him. But ultimately, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Any final thoughts on this? I know you're a huge John Tavares guy, so you can see the jersey on your right there over your left shoulder. But it's I think he's going to be a Leaf, and he's going to retire a Leaf.
Yeah, obviously there's some bias there. I love John Tavares, right? But bias aside, I think this is a move that the Leafs should do. It's going to be a pretty affordable option for a second line center for at least the next 2 years. We don't know how long he's going to sign for. I would imagine it's 3 to 4 years, something like that. Take him to maybe 38 years old. But you're right. Like, he's only 34, excuse me. He's going to be, he's still playing at an elite level at 36, I think, right? Because last year, again, I'll say, I think was an outlier. Since he's come to Toronto, he's been fantastic. This year, again, he's doing it. He's 34 years old. He's going to put up 82 points, maybe even more. We don't know exactly what he's going to finish with, but he's had a great season. He's playing with Nylander or, a mix of different guys. Him and Pacioretty have been great as well. And he's changing his play style as time goes on and continuing to do the things that makes him successful. The puck battles, these things, right? You're really seeing it highlighted this year. So he's been fantastic. I hope he stays a Leaf. And I think that he's going to do the Leafs a little bit of a favor. He took a $2 million pay cut in his last contract, could have signed for $13 million in San Jose or elsewhere. Took the $11 million contract to be in Toronto. I think he wants to be in Toronto, so he may do the same again. But it's not going to be $2 or $3 million. He's still going to get paid what he's worth or close to what he's worth.
Which is good. We all want to see him end his career in Toronto. He's been great the whole time, even last year in a down year. Still putting up 65 points is better than a lot of teams, fourth, fifth best player options. So that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you later today at 2 p.m. Eastern for the watch along.